Not for me. No, no, no. Old YouTube has changed their system and they'll only do sort of ones that are, no, not for me. I can't be bothered. I'm just going to stick to being me. And I don't do it for subscribers. I don't do it, I just do it because I love doing it and I love the connection I make with other people out there. So yeah, message me if you want. Hi, I'm Donna. I'm homesteading New Zealand with the blind knitter. So I live in New Zealand. I live in the North Island. I'm legally blind. I only have just about that much sight. The rest of my sight is totally gone, it's black. I have a guide dog. She's down, I might be able to show you. She's down under the table there, if you can see her. I think you can see her. No, I'm guessing you can see her. So that's who I am. I do my podcasts irregularly. Try to do them sort of fortnightly, monthly, but we'll see how we go. And I started originally with just knitting podcasts, but I realised very recently that there's more to me in what I do, that I like to put down in YouTube or lay down in videos so that I can look back at them. My grandkids, great grandkids can look back at them, but you guys can also learn from them as well when you get to my age, which is I think there's stuff up here that's worth imparting. Yeah, I've learned a lot over my years and I learn a lot. So that's what I'm about really, is just knowledge. I do a bit of sewing, I do a bit of gardening, I live on a 16-acre block. My partner's a farmer, we have a sheep stud, and I do a lot of knitting and crocheting and mental health. I'm really keen to support people with their mental well-being. It's to me that's critical. You know, what's going on up here is critical. I've got a degree in psychology, so I've really been interested in the brain for a lot of years and how it works. So that's what you get from me really. So yeah, Happy New Year 2025. So my last podcast was a breakdown of what I had done over 2024, sewing and knitting and bits. And this one here is really just to say hello and what I'm about again, because I think I know I've changed my name. I was the blind knitter, now Homesteading New Zealand with the blind knitter, just to sort of embrace everything else that I do as well, from making kefir to trying to make cheese sometimes, and yeah, lots of raising my chooks and all of those sorts of things. Yeah, so today I thought I would talk. I had a wonderful holiday and it's a fabulous break, and my head feels really good and clear and ready for the new year. I've had taken quite a bit of time off this year. I started back to work with 1 day a week and then 2 days a week and 3 days a week, and I'm just back on 4 days a week at the moment, and I'll be back to 5 soon, school term, so next week probably. Yes, I've started really slowly and I've really enjoyed the break, and what I wanted to talk about is sort of balance, work-life balance and mental care. So we talk in the psychology world around the 8 areas of human existence, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about these before, but I think they're really important to keep in your mind consistently. So there are 8 areas that make you the whole person, make you who you are, and in those 8 areas you want balance in all of the areas. So the 8 areas make up the pie. So if you have one big chunk of pie and one little chunk of pie, it's all very unbalanced. You want to try and make as much balance in each of those areas, and then you'll have a nice healthy pie that's in good dimensions. And that's what we aim for. So the 8 areas of human existence which make you who you are the first one is intimacy. So that's your immediate intimate relationship, your personal relationship. Then it is family, so your next social group. Then it's your social connections, so friends and social connections. Then it is work, paid and unpaid. Then it is knowledge. What do I do with my brain? What do I do? How do I learn? It's the learning part of us. Spirituality. Now that's not religion. That is what I do to support my well-being, my wider or my spirit, my being. So that's spirituality. Then there is physicality. So how do I take care of my body? How do I take care of myself physically? And then the last one is hobbies. You know, what do I do to blow my hair back? What are the things that I do that I really enjoy that give my brain a bubble bath of serotonin and dopamine and are good for myself? So those are the 8 areas. Now, if you Google 8 areas of human existence, you'll get those. Some of them title them differently, and some they say there are 6, but generally it'll just give you a broad. So when I work with my clients, and also when I work in my journaling, I've journaled all my life, I'm an avid journaler, I like to look at each of those 8 areas to really ensure that I'm getting some consistency and some balance in all of those areas. So say, for example, you totally concentrate on family to the detriment of everything else, then there's some real imbalance in that pie, and that can topple it. So you want to be able to concentrate. That doesn't mean that just means to put some boundaries around the ones that you've got too much build in. So boundary those and screw them down into a much more, it's not so much about amount, it's about, you know, the what's the quality of that time. So tidy those up, and then also look at the ones that aren't equal pies and how can you increase those. So that's the 8 areas of human existence, and at the beginning of the year is a really good time to look at them. Now what reminded me of that, although I don't need a lot of reminding because, as I say, I journal and I do this regularly, I write in my journal on the front page, on the inside of my front page, I write those 8 areas down on that page so that while I'm journaling through the year, I can look back on that list and remind myself, what are the 8 areas, and have I worked on doing something in each of the areas. So that is, and what started me thinking about talking about it today is, at the moment around the sort of sewing, knitting world, there is a thing called the 9 makes. So you have a graph or a chart of 9 areas, and in it you write what your intent, your goal is to make within those 9 areas. And I think 9's a nice number. It's not a number where you're going, okay, I want to make 23 or something, so it's feeling really overwhelming, but it's a little bit more than 3, so it's feeling like it's giving you a little bit of growth and pressure and cortisol. So we need cortisol to get us going. We need cortisol to move us, to get us out of bed in the morning. So 9 is a nice number to sort of create enough cortisol to get us into those 9 makes. So the idea is to do, and I haven't got mine on me, which was really silly, but I will show you next podcast. So I've already done mine. And I got a Vivid and a piece of A4 paper, and I just drew 9 squares and put some flowers around it I'm no artist. Stick figures and flowers is my limit. But I put some flowers around it just to make it mine. And I wrote on the side, make 9. And I've put sewing for one, knitting for another, and I am going to put one for learning, because I think that, you know, although I can probably add those into that, so I don't want to overdo it, which is what I tend to do, but I'm doing the 9 sewing and 9 knitting, and what that's going to do is it's going to keep me focused. Now it doesn't mean I have to completely accurately stay towards it, but it does mean I will be sewing and knitting intentionally. So I sat down with my piece of paper and I thought, what are the things I really want to make this year? What are the things that will fit in my wardrobe, and are there gaps in my wardrobe, so that I'm not just walking around the fabric shop or the wool shop going, oh, that's nice. I've got so much stash of things that I think, oh, that's nice, I'll make that. And I often never do. And I think some of it is that I'm not doing it with intention. I'm just thinking, oh, that's pretty, that'll make a nice cardigan, putting it aside. Whereas when I did this, one of my Make 9 knits is a cardigan. I'm really low on cardigans. They're so handy. I don't feel the cold so much, and I get quite hot. And so a cardigan's great. It can become off and on. And I want a neutral colour, like a fawn colour. And so I put that in there. I want to make a fawn coloured cardigan. So that gives me intention. Now, I've filled 9, so I've got 9, and as I said, I will show you next podcast, but I've got 9 in my sewing and I've got 9 in my knitting. So it's made me feel really good about the year. I don't have to stay with it. And I've actually even now written a couple of things on my sewing ones that are things I'd like to play with that aren't in my 9 that I might dabble with. So I've written those on there as well. And so, yeah, I think that's very similar to the 8 areas of human existence. And when I work with a client, I try and have 6 weeks with them, and that's a nice amount of time. And the first week we always look at self-care and how are you taking care of yourself physically. So we look at the physical area, your eating, your sleeping, your exercise, those sorts of things. So that physical one's critical. So we get that sort of done, and then we look at the spiritual one as well, because that's things like, do you meditate? Are you mindful? Do you spend time on self? What are the things that you do that you enjoy and that fill you? And so those are 2 really good ones to start with, and then we start looking at the others. And some of them, they come with challenge. Some people have family issues, some people have physical issues, some people have work issues. So those ones, you just want to do one of those at one time. You don't want to pick 2 on that day. You want to pick just one. And you kind of unpack that on that day. So that's how I do it within my framework of my work, and in my journaling. So I jot something down, try and start with at least a sentence about each of the areas. And if there's one that sort of stands out to me that I'm feeling a bit pressured about, then I will concentrate on that for a while. Or if there's one that I think, gosh, I haven't done any of that for ages, and that's something that really fills my cup, but I haven't done it. What are the barriers, what are the blocks, etc., and how can I get that back into my world? So that's my challenge to you is to sit down one day. Doesn't have to be anything flash, cheap notebook from Uncle Bill's or whatever you call it in other countries, Joanne's, etc. Just a cheap notebook and a pencil or pen. Sit down, write the 8 areas of human existence on the inside of the front cover and start jotting something about each of those areas and having a look. So yeah, that's that one. So I've done my Make 9, and as I said, I can't show you them, but I will. And so what I've been doing lately, I have my sojo back. So that's a new term that I've just learned as well. My sojo, which I quite like. I had lost my mojo for sewing a reasonable amount. I was still sewing, but sort of mending and pottering and stuff. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying it and kind of getting lost in it, which is great for my head. So this is my latest make. I will put a wee photo in, hopefully. I'm not very good at this, but I will promise I will try and put a photo in. So it is, if I have to do a quick standees, it is pure cotton. It's a sun frock, and it's got a frill on the bottom. So it's just nice and simple. All it is darts, straight in an A-line shape with a frill on the bottom. It's the pattern didn't have a frill on the bottom, but I wanted it a bit longer. So I did that. What I have noticed is, this is my first day wearing it, my straps are too long, so I keep having to hook them around my bra. So first job to do is I will stitch this, shorten these, they need shortening by 1 inch. But apart from that, it fits lovely, it's a nice fit. It's a Pattern Emporium dress called Heidi. I like Pattern Emporium, they're nice and simple patterns. Very size inclusive, from size 4 to 30, and lovely fit. So this was just a simple sun frock. It was a piece of stash that I had at home, and just a nice, easy Christmas holiday make. It's lovely. I think it's supposed to be summer, but we haven't had the weather. We've had crap weather, and I'm hoping that it gets really hot and I get some sunfrock use out of it. But as I say, I don't feel the cold too much. I do get quite hot, so it'll get used. And I have got a cardigan with me. We're off to a barbecue tonight. I'm a Rotarian. That's part of my hobbies and my hobby section. It's also part of my learning, my knowledge section. I learn from it every time I spend time with these friends that are all managers and owners of businesses, and the head of their whatever their business is, and so I learn a lot from them. So Rotary kind of fits into both. It goes into learning and knowledge, and it goes into my hobbies. So I do particularly learn from that. I did join it to learn. I learned more about speaking in public, and thinking on the spot, which is something I'm not so great at, and business acumen and how they feel and how they work. And I've made great friends with them over the years. I've been a Rotarian for over 20 years now. Yeah, just over 20 years, I think. And so that's very much my knowledge, fills my knowledge and my hobbies bucket. So we've got a barbecue tonight for the first one back this year. So that'll be nice, and hopefully it'll be warm enough that I will feel appropriately dressed. But I do have a cardigan if I don't. And so what have I done over Christmas? I really had such a beautiful time over Christmas with family, and that, as I said in past podcasts, but the last couple of weeks I spent some time with my grandson, and I will put a video in. We had two extremes. So he came from, I've got 7 grandchildren, but 2 in Australia, 2 went to their other grandmas, and so I had one here that I could spend some time with. And so we went to Copthorne, which is a motel complex, and we spent the night in a motel, and we had a nice dinner, and it has a pool and a gym and all of that there, so in a games area. So that was quite a nice difference thing to do, and that filled my family part of my pie very nicely. My other granddaughter and my great-grandson and her husband came for dinner, so joined us for dinner, so it was a really nice time to spend special time with them. So that was definitely filled up one of my segments of my pie. So that was one night, and then the next night I came home with my grandson, and from the totally other extreme, which is something I love to do anyway, it's very much me and it's very much him, is I've got a van that I can sleep in, and I got Mr. Farmer to drive it over to the dam, because I don't drive, they don't let blind people drive, I don't blame them. So he drove it over to the dam, and we set up camp, and we camped at our dam for the night. And Braden caught tadpoles. He got 3 tadpoles and 1 frog, which still had his tail. And we had a lovely, lovely time. We just sat there, and I took nibbles over, so we had cheese and crackers and nibbles. And he just went out and did frogs. We tried to watch a movie on our tablet, which didn't work very well. Not a lot of not enough internet, but that's okay. We just played games, and it was really special. So it was 2 extremes: Copthorne, I wouldn't say fine dining, but dinner out, and camping with cheese and nibbles and catching frogs. One very expensive, one cost me nothing. Totally enjoyed both. This one that has, I think, the biggest pros to it, biggest benefits to it, because firstly it didn't cost much. It's something that we both really enjoy. We both love camping, we both love outdoors and exploring and that sort of thing. It's something that I can do with my loss of eyesight, that it's possible for me to do, because when you're camping, you go to sleep when it's dark. It doesn't matter what the time is, you wake up when it's light. So there's no floundering around in the dark. Yeah, so that filled up a lot of my triangles. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll put some wee videos in of the frog catching. He did return the frogs and tadpoles to the dam after he had looked at them and learned from them, and we goofed off that he'd caught them and that sort of thing. So they were returned nice and safely back to the dam, to their home, and yes, and never fear on that one. And of course Kenzie, my guide dog, she just loved it. I was saying to Mr. Farmer, when we first got Kenzie, she's 9 now, so she's getting old, we took her to the dam because we often sit up there and have a drink and sort of watch the sunset, and it's just a beautiful place. And the first time we took her up when she was new with us, she bounded through the dam and she swam across it and she went right round it, which is quite a big dam, and got covered in muck. And this time she just sort of waddled along with me, said, oh yeah, we're at the dam, sat there and just looked happy and content. And that's probably what I did too. The other thing I have done sewing wise, and this is another one of my triangles, is my hobbies. So I have sewn again I'll show you in a future video, a mat that sits under my sewing machine that I've quilted and bound with bias binding and put pockets in the front for my scissors and my quick unpick and all sorts of things. I got the idea of another sewing podcast, which I thought was really clever. So I made one and I thought, oh my gosh, particularly with my eyesight, because as long as I do this, I put them back in their pockets. When I go to use them, I find them instead of plonking around looking for them. So yeah, it's putting them back that's the key, but that's so easy. So I made that. I made this dress. I've cut out another dress ready to sew, so that's sitting there for this weekend. I didn't do any last weekend because I had Mr. Braden, and so we did all that. Knitting, I haven't done any. No, I haven't done any, have I? And crocheting, I am still pottering along on my crocheted granny cardigan, which is pottering along quite nicely. So yeah, it's been a productive time. My chooks are laying heavily. We're getting 8 to 10 eggs a day out of 11 chooks. My veggie garden is packed and it's all green, and oh, that's what Braden and I also did. We went out, and this was such a blessing. When we went out, we dug up some potatoes and put them in the bucket, and then I got Mr. Braden to pick my beans, and he said, what sizes? And I said, as long as they're bigger than your big middle finger. So he went around measuring them all and picked all of the beans and put them in the bucket. And I picked lettuce salad and spring onions and bits and pieces and chives and parsley, and put them in the bucket. And he found one strawberry and one blackberry, and we put them in the bucket. And you know, I walked behind him walking back to the house with this bucket. Mr. Braden's 11. You know, sometimes when they get to that stage they're humphy-mumphy, as they can be, but his body language, he was so proud of this bucket full of stuff that he dug out of the garden, and yeah, it made my heart swell. So if you get the opportunity to do things like that with your kids or grandkids, do, because it fills one of those segments. It's one of those 8 areas of human existence, gets all swelled up nice and fluffy. So there we go, that's my podcast for the day. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, so right at the beginning I was doing YouTube have changed their way that they present podcasts out there, and if you aren't doing something that's shocking or big nose or scary, they don't spread it out there. The ones that they spread out are those ones. So it's not going to happen. So I won't do it. So there we go. That's you won't get things like that from me. I think that's everything. I will hopefully put that photo of my frock, which I am liking, up. My couple of videos of us with the frogs and camping, so you can see that at the end. And yeah, have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Stop recording. Stop recording. Stop recording. Pause. Stop recording.
Blimey. blind. That's the blind thing. Here we go. Well done.